The sermon at Benares. Do you know the meaning of sermon? What is the meaning of sermon? The holy preaching is called sermon. Okay? Gautam Buddha, who lived from 563 BC to 483 BC, began life as a prince named Siddhartha Gautam in northern India. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures. Sacred means holy, scriptures means holy books. To study the holy books, he was sent at the age of 12. And 4 years later, he returned home to marry a princess. So his studies of holy scriptures went on for 4 years, and after that he returned and got married. At what age he got married, that you will have to calculate, because they had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. The befitted royalty means the proper life of a royal family. That kind of a life he lived for how many years? 10 years. At about the age of 25, now 25 minus 10 is 15. He had returned at what age? 16. So there is a discrepancy over there. At 12 he went to study. After 4 years he returned, so he should return at 16. 16 years. 16 to 26. But they have written that at around at the age of 25. So they had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. At about the age of 25, the prince, year-to-fore means before that, till then, shielded from the suffering of the world. Up to the age of 25, he was shielded from the sufferings of the world. Means he was kept in such a secure way in the palace, and he lived a royal life, and he was not introduced to what is suffering. He didn't even know what is suffering. In that way he had lived for such a long period of up to the age of 25. But while out hunting, at the age of 25 he went out for hunting, chanced upon a sick man. He came across, by chance, a sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. Okay, so these 4 things he witnessed when he went out for hunting. Which were the 4 things?
Sick man, funeral procession.
Okay, and finally a monk begging for alms. These sights so moved him that he at once went out into the world to seek enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. He witnessed these sorrows, and he wanted to get some spiritual knowledge, enlightenment, how to come out of these sorrows. Okay? He was so much moved on seeing the people in such a sorrowful state that he wanted to find a solution to it. What was the probable solution? Enlightenment. The spiritual knowledge would relieve him and the world from suffering. That is what he thought. So he renounced the world and he went in search of enlightenment, the spiritual knowledge that would reduce the suffering of the world, and he would find out the solution to it. He wandered for 7 years in search of that solution, and finally sat down under a peepal tree, where he vowed to stay until enlightenment came. Till he got if he doesn't get spiritual knowledge, if he doesn't get that enlightenment, if he doesn't become knowledgeable as to what to do about this suffering, till then he decided that he would sit under that peepal tree. For how many years he wandered before that? 7 years. So at 12 he went to study scriptures, Hindu scriptures. At the age of 16, he returned, got married, lived a life with his wife and son for as a befitted royalty for 10 years, and then he went out for hunting and he watched this aged man, a sick man, and a funeral procession, and finally he decided to go out in search of the solution for this suffering. He wandered for 7 years, and at last he sat under a peepal tree with determination that until he gets the solution, enlightenment, he will not stand up from there. Enlightened after 7 days. 7 days he sat under the tree and he got enlightened. He renamed the tree the Bodhi tree, tree of wisdom. Okay, people tree, he named it a Bodhi tree, the tree of wisdom, and began to teach and to share his new understandings. Whatever understanding he had, the knowledge that he acquired, that he started sharing. At that point, he became known as the Buddha. What is the meaning of Buddha? The awakened or the enlightened. The person who is awakened, the person who is enlightened, the one who has spiritual knowledge is called Buddha. The Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Benares. Banaras આપણે જે કહીએ છીએ. Okay? Most holy of the dipping places on the river Gangas. On the river Ganga, there are many places where you can take a dip and purify yourself. So this is one of the city, Banaras. That sermon, the first sermon he gave at Banaras, the first preaching he gave at Banaras. That sermon has been preserved and is given here. Okay? It reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one unscrutable kind of suffering. Inscrutable means inscrutable, something which cannot be understood. Scrutinize means to analyze and understand. Inscrutable means something that cannot be understood. So, he had found out the wisdom about the suffering. What kind of suffering? Suffering that cannot be understood. And he had found a solution to that. That is what he talks in this sermon. Now that sermon is given over here. Kisa Gautami had an only son and he died. Who died, Kisa Gautami or the son? Kisa Gautami's son died. Kisa Gautami was the mother of that son. In her grief, in her sorrow, she carried the dead child to all her neighbors, asking them for medicine. Followed? The child was dead, but she carried the dead body of the child to all her neighbors and asked them to give some medicine so that the boy would become alive. And the people said, she has lost her senses. She has gone mad. The boy is dead and she is asking for the medicine of the child. At length, Kisa Gautami met a man who replied to her request. I cannot give thee medicine for thy child. I cannot give you. Thee means you. Thy means your. I cannot give medicine for your child. Lord and Master. Sorry. But I know the physician who can. And the girl said, Kisa Gautami said, pray tell me, please tell me, who is it? And the man replied, go to Sukya Muni, the Buddha. Sakya Muni, the Buddha. Kisa Gautami repaired to the Buddha. Repaired means a stylistic use of went to. Went to the Buddha and cried, Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. The Buddha answered, I want a handful of mustard seed. And when the girl in her joy promised to procure it, the Buddha added, so what was the requirement? What was needed to cure the child? Mustard seeds. Okay? And the girl promised joyfully, yes, I will bring mustard seed. Okay, you cure my son. But then Buddha added, the mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent, or friend. You have to bring mustard seed from such kind of a house where nobody has died. Is it possible? Of course not. So, but this Kisa Gautami was so much passionate about getting her son back to life that she endeavored to go to houses and find out a house where nobody was dead. Poor Kisa Gautami now went from house to house, and the people pitied her and said, here is the mustard seed, take it. But when she asked, did a son or daughter, a father or mother die in your family? They answered her, alas, the living are few but the dead are many. More people in this house have died. The living are, because grandfather, then great grandfather, many people have died in the house. The people who are alive are less. The people who are dead are more in this house. So, do not remind us of our deepest grief. The people used to add that you may take the mustard seed if you want, but we have more people who are dead in our house than they are alive. And please don't remind us of the people who have already passed away. And there was no house, but some beloved one had died in it. But means there is none but. Do you understand the meaning of it? There was no house where any person had not died. So in every house, some beloved had died. That is what it means. Kisa Gautami became weary and hopeless. She got tired looking for the mustard seed from a house where nobody was dead. And she was hopeless. She lost all her hope and sat down at the wayside watching the lights of the city. Now you have to imagine the lights of the city of that time, not the present time. In Mumbai, if you see the lights of the city, it would be a different picture today. But at that time, they didn't have the electric lights. So, at last, as they flickered up and were extinguished again, okay, the lights flickered up and got extinguished. That kind of lights she saw in the city. At last, the darkness of the night reigned everywhere. What ruled everywhere? The darkness ruled. The light would appear for some time and then would extinguish. But darkness was something that reigned, that ruled. That was something that was permanent. So, you have to understand that in the context of life. That life on earth is short-lived like the lights. What rules is the death. And she considered the fate of men. What is the fate of men? That their lives flicker up and are extinguished again. You take birth and then you die. That is the reality of life. And she thought to herself, how selfish am I in my grief? I have become very selfish in my sorrows. Death is common to all. Death is not something unusual. Is there any person who can claim that I am never going to die? Man is mortal. Anyone who takes birth on this earth is going to die sooner or later. Whether you visualize that day of death or not, one day death is going to come for sure. It is as certain as there is God in the heaven. So, and she thought to herself, how selfish am I in my grief? Death is common to all. Yet, in this valley of dissolution in area which is filled with deep sorrows, means her life was filled with deep sorrows because her son had passed away. Death is common to all, yet in this valley of dissolution, there is a path that leads him to immortality. In this sorrowful life, there is one path that leads you towards immortality. Mortality means something that has death. Immortal means something that does not have death. Who has surrendered all selfishness? Who doesn't have death? The one who has surrendered all selfishness. Selfishness arises from the capital I. Okay? My brother, my sister, my parents, my house, my car, my result. From there, say, the basic idea of selfishness occurs. Everybody is willing to do good to one's own self. Everybody wants good people around him or her. Everybody wants the supporters around him or her. That is selfishness as termed over here. So, who can become immortal? The one who surrenders the selfishness, okay, will become immortal. The Buddha said, the life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. That is what Buddha thought about life. We have different idea about life. Do you think that life is troubled? Do you think that life is brief? Do you think that life is combined in pain? No, we have different ideas. But Buddha believed that mortals, means those bound to die, their life in this world is troubled. It is very short and it is combined with pain. For there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. Why is life sorrowful? Because there is no way in which you can avoid death. Death is inevitable. All that comes into this world goes. Is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. After reaching old age, there is death. Generally it is so, sometimes it is early also. Of such a nature are living beings. It is the nature of human beings that after reaching a particular age, a person dies. 60, 70, 80, 90, some may hit a century also, but cannot say avoid death. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling. Okay? So mortals when born are always in danger of death. We are always in danger of death. We can die any moment. It is very much likely that, say, any person you meet today, he may not be there tomorrow. We are constantly under the threat of death. As all earthen vessels made by the potter end in being broken, earthen vessels, you know, maybe they have a very long life, but one day they break, and after breaking they again meet with the soil. So is the life of mortals. We are also coming from somewhere, like earthen vessels we are made, and one day we are also going to decay, perish and die. So is the life of mortals. Both young and adult, both those who are fools and those who are wise, all fall into the power of death. Will young people not die? Young people also will die. Old people will not die, they will also die. Okay, can we claim that the wise people will not die? The wise will also die. And the people who are fools, they will also die. So death is something that is common for everyone. So, those all are subject to death. We are all subject to death. We are all ruled by death. Subject to death means slaves of death. Okay? Of those who overcome by death, depart from life, a father cannot, of those who overcome by death, Those who overcome by death means they are very much say, taken up by death and depart from life. That means those who die. Okay? Those who die and leave this world, they leave life. A father cannot save his son. If the son is dying, the father cannot save him. Nor kinsmen their relations. The relatives cannot save the other relatives. Mark, while relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, if a person dies, then his relatives, what will they do? They will lament. They will express their grief. One by one, mortals are carried off. One by one, the relatives will keep decreasing. They will get carried off. Like an ox that is led to the slaughter. Just as an ox is, in those days it must be so, that the ox were taken to the slaughterhouse and killed by one. In that way, even in a group of relatives, one by one people will perish. Therefore, the wise do not grieve. That is something that is very natural and common. And the wise men do not grieve over it, do not become sorrowful over it. Knowing the terms of the world. That is the condition of coming into this world. That those who come in this world, they sooner or later die. Okay? Thank you.